There's no doubt that of all our empirical conquests, the one country that's probably had the greatest impact on our food culture is India.
Memsahibs returning home from the Raj brought back with them a love of Indian cuisine and ingredients, which they duly incorporated into a host of Anglo-Indian hybrid dishes. But with the arrival of many Indian and Pakistani immigrants in the 50s, 60s and 70s, our love of all things Indian was to develop even further.
Asif Ali is the third generation of his family to run the Sheesh Mahal, a landmark Indian restaurant in the West End of Glasgow.
Because Britain went out and explored the known world and developed an empire, it helped my family to come into Britain and make a life for themselves, and the only thing they could do was to cook.
So you've come to Glasgow, have you? Pretty grim, isn't it?
Well, he's not going to get a job for Glasgow Tourist Board, is he? But the cold, wet, windy streets of Scotland's second city were remarkably receptive to these new flavours from overseas. And the recipes concocted by Asif's dad, Ali, proved a big hit.
The amazing thing was that the Glaswegians took to curry like ducks to water. Because the weather is so dark and rainy, the people are the exact opposite. They're warm and generous. So when they came in and tasted it, they were addicted. They loved it, and we've never looked back since.
But back in 1971, when a customer didn't like what he was served up, his dad's quick thinking led to a curry that has become synonymous with the success of Indo-British cuisine across the country.
Yep, chicken tikka masala has numerous reported claims of origin. But as far as Asif's concerned, it was born in Glasgow.
My father tells me it was a typical Glaswegian night. It was pouring down outside, it was dark, and a bus driver came off duty and he had a terrible day, so sat down and ordered a chicken curry. Chicken curry came, he sent it back to the waiter. He says, it's dry and I want something not as dry. So at that time Dad had an ulcer and he was enjoying a plate of tomato soup. So Dad says, why don't you put some tomato soup into the curry and put some spices, and that'll give him a wee bit different flavour. So the chef did that and sent it back to the table, and he absolutely loved it. And he came back the next day and the day after, and he brought his friends, and eventually we decided we will put it on the menu.
And with that, an Indian food legend was born.
Its success saw Ali refine the recipe, ditching the soup for fresh tomatoes, cream and a cacophony of spices. These days, it's thought that 1 in every 7 curries ordered is a chicken tikka masala. In many people's eyes, it's now our national dish, but it's not stopped it going abroad, even to India.
India is growing so fast. There's so many tourists coming to Britain, and they want to take away the taste of Britain with them. So along with all the other British things, they take away the love of chicken tikka masala because it's unique to Britain.
Usually I'm the guinea pig at some point. Usually I come in here and they just say, there you go, try that, see how that goes. But it's one of my favourite dishes, Indian, and I love haggis as well.
I think there's many think that this is our home cooking now. You know, it's not the porridge anymore. It's chicken tikka masala. I think it's taken over from it for breakfast, lunch and dinner.
Well, I always think that curries are Scottish.
Once you start accepting different food, then it's not a huge leap to start accepting people. And when you start accepting people, you become more tolerant and more open as a society, and a much richer society. We're at the dawn of the Second British Empire. The First Empire went out and conquered through might. The Second British Empire is going out and conquering by cuisine.
the heart of rural England.
Like Glasgow, it might seem a long way from the heat and vibrancy of India, but it's also home to another British legend.
A product born out of the Raj that has for a long time put a bit of spice into the lives of not just Englishmen,
but people from all around the world.
The Australians say it's absolutely bonza on barbecues. The French claim it points up the piquancy of steak tartare. And there's nothing the Chinese like better than to dip their dim sum in it.
In fact, the product made here is something that keeps this town and county on the tip of just about everyone's tongue.
Lea & Perrins Worcestershire sauce.
And it has a long and illustrious history.
There are many theories as to how it came about, but legend has it that a fella called Lord Marcus Sandys started it when he was returning to Worcester from a jaunt in Bengal in 1835.
He'd obviously got a taste for the spicy stuff and went into a chemist's shop on the high street and handed over the recipe for a fish-based sauce he wanted made.
Mr. John Lee was behind the counter, and so was Mr. William Perrins. They had the knowledge and concocted the ingredients, making sure they kept a little bit back for themselves.
They tried it and, it was horrible. So they dispatched it to the cellars. Anyway, after about 2-3 years, they were clearing the cellars out, found this in the vaults, and dusted it off, brought it back up, tried it, eureka, that was it. Lea & Perrins sauce.
They began commercial production in 1837 and got the Royal Seal of Approval in 1904. Then, with the help of Edwardian explorers and colonists, the sauce found its way to foreign shores.
Today, it's a household name around the globe and has been copied more times than a Gucci handbag.
A bottle of love.
But nothing can beat a genuine Worcestershire-made product.
And that's because what happens behind these closed doors is a closely guarded secret.
The ingredients might be on the bottle for all to see.
Vinegar, molasses, sugar, shallots, anchovies, tamarinds, garlic, salt and spices are named on the label.
But the art of combining them is a very different matter.
It's all on a very need-to-know basis. In fact, it's said that only 4 people know the recipe at any one time.
And those that do aren't about to give it away.
Well, I'm afraid I can't divulge anything tapped into the work at all. It's not their policy to discuss anything at all.
Surely you can tell us what order the ingredients go in?
No, that wouldn't do at all.
How long does it take to mature?
That's another thing I wouldn't discuss with them, sorry.
What about the strange markings on the barrel? Surely you can tell us that.
That pertains to the ingredients that have gone in, but there again, I'm afraid I'm reluctant to discuss any further at all.
Oh, you spoiled sport!
When it comes to Lea & Perrins, there's no doubt that the maturing process is key.
It's the anchovies that really give it its fabled aroma.
These are left to age for 4 years, and they achieve a ripeness which makes even brave men blench. When the sauce has been created, it must be left to mature for several months, but not left in peace. It must be given a regular shaking to remind it of its obligations. Bert Ricketts has been shaking the sauces for 20 years.
Wow, that man must have some stamina.
Worcestershire sauce in bulk gives off a bouquet that commands respect.
It might require a gas mask at this stage, but once matured, its taste is one that seduced the world.
So much so, some believe it to be the British food that's had the most impact on international cuisine.
And without the empire, the world might never have been able to experience its magic. The British Empire has brought us ingredients once thought beyond our dreams to our very fingertips.
But one curry in particular celebrates the huge variety.